Awesome. We are live here on this Tuesday, December 12th. I dropped a little text in the chat in the bottom right corner. I know everybody likes to say their name and where they are, but in line with the holidays coming up, I thought it's sort of fun to hear what purchase of $100 or less has had the most impact on your life in the last 6 months or recently. I think this is a fun little question. I've heard it before, but as folks are trickling in and we give some people time before we get started, feel free to respond to that. Oh, we got a Right Tool Pro for $50. Nice. Some software right off the bat. We'll give it probably another minute, and then we will get started here.
Wow, there's so much Right Tool love in the chat.
ChatGPT. This does not have to be software specific. If it can be products too, but I love the software.
Yeah, ChatGPT is another one that's coming up regularly in the chat. These are both game changers. I mean, I'm going to make the argument that, Keeper, if you're looking at it on a per client cost, would qualify.
Yeah,
But I think
for
the
sure.
Keeper, Right Tool, ChatGPT trifecta was huge for us this year.
There was someone in the chat who said Keeper, and that's what we're hearing is ChatGPT, Right Tool, Keeper, and Dawson's Academy. Leonie Dawson's Academy.
This. Dawn Hayes, I love this. At QB Connect, when Adam Grant was speaking, there was a really cool, show also in the chat and people on this. Who all was at QB Connect? I know Keeper was there. Yeah, Deb was there. Stacy. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people. So do you remember the part when Adam Grant was speaking and he had us turn to the seat next to us and he had to clap out a song? Dawn in the chat was the person who sat next to her. I'd never met her before, and now she's in the chat on this Keeper Talk. Isn't that great?
Awesome.
We Will Rock You and Happy Birthday were our songs.
Got a lot of buds here. We got a lot of buds here.
A lot of bookkeeping buds. This is great. Hi.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like we got quite a good amount of folks joining. So we're going to kick this off. Everybody's heard Nancy's voice, Stacy's voice, Debra's voice. We are thrilled to have these great personalities on with us today. Amazing people. And there's so much in store for today's webinar. I know if you're already a Keeper user, we really appreciate all your support. If you're looking for a bookkeeping practice management solution, to streamline your platform or just want to hear more, I know Debra, Nancy, and Stacy are going to do an awesome job giving you the lay of the land. So we really appreciate it. The overview for today, how we're going to run this is we're going to start with a couple housekeeping items. We'll jump right into a Keeper demo from Brett, who leads our sales team here at Keeper. I'm sure many of you have met Brett. He was at QB Connect as well. After the Keeper demo, we will really hand it over for a fun, informative, casual Q&A from our panelists, and then we'll wrap up with any questions and answers. So feel free to, as most of you have already done so, you're typing away in the chat. You can also use the questions modal in the right-hand corner with a question mark as well. People can upvote questions, and we can pick those out to ask Stacy, Nancy, and Debra. For anyone that can't make it or has to leave early, this webinar will be recorded. You can access it after and will be shared online. Awesome. Before jumping in, again, I know a good handful of you probably already know this because you're Keeper users, but before I hand it over to Brett to do a demo of Keeper, I did want to highlight the 4 key pillars of Keeper. One, the client portal, which we'll talk a lot about today, which has been a game changer, I know, for some of these folks that you'll hear from. But the client portal really helps get quicker responses from your clients. A lot of folks say they are tired of sending uncategorized transactions through email and just the back and forth ping pong. So Keeper's Client Portal is a great place to ask questions, review questions, post documents in an easy way for your clients to access it through a Keeper magic link. On top of that, we got task management, your SOPs and workflows. And the beauty of Keeper is that it two-way syncs with your general ledger, QBO and Xero. So you're really working in your workflows and reviewing your work live with a single source of truth, one place to do it all. And then finally, the management reports. We know how dry these can be, and Keeper really adds a little bit of flavor with the executive summaries, the ability to custom create KPIs and beautiful graphics. So excited to dive into this a little bit more and hand it over to Brett.
Thanks, Josh. Can you remove your share? Awesome. Well, pleasure to meet all of you. My name's Brett. I manage our sales team here at Keeper. So I'm really excited to give you like a quick run through. This isn't going to be a full like half-hour demo that we do normally and kind of tailor it for you. I'm going to try and be a little more general so that everyone gets something out of it. But what I would love to start out with is in the chat, could you, any one of you, feel free to drop in what's one thing you want to learn about today on this webinar? About Keeper, about anything else? All right, we got file reviews, how this works, how to better use Keeper. Let's see, now it's popping off. Receipt management, that's a big one that unfortunately I won't have a ton of info for, but I can touch a little bit on that. Custom reports, how power users are using it. I think our team of panelists here will be really good at answering like how to best use Keeper because they use it more than I do. Awesome. We have a bunch of questions, a lot of people that are new, a lot of people that are maybe already on Keeper. Time management, 1099s. We'll definitely touch on 1099s. All right. Josh, can you see my screen?
I can.
Perfect. Awesome. So we'll dive in and I'll try and touch on a lot of these comments, although we did get like way more than I thought we would get. So that's exciting. This is the Keeper close page. So this is kind of the main area where you'll work in Keeper on each of your clients. So today I'm demoing this Jake's HVAC as if they were a client that I managed. And really at the end of the day, Keeper is a tool that streamlines your month-end close. So we don't do like everything that bookkeeping has, like we don't do invoicing or payroll, for example, but at our core, we really help speed up your month-end close to make it 2 or 3 times faster than doing it without Keeper. We also integrate with QuickBooks Online and with Xero, and that's key to Keeper's value and the reason why so many companies like yourselves here have joined Keeper is because of our integration. So you'll see kind of what I mean by that. But this is where you'll go to manage that month-end close. So today I'm looking at the past. We're looking at July of 2022 as if we're doing the month-end review and close for them. And so you'll just kind of work your way down this page, starting with your non-closing tasks. So I won't really get into the difference between non-closing or closing tasks. We can do that later on like a more tailored call. But the whole point is you can store any type of tasks you want to track in Keeper. So if you do like quarterly tax filings, you can add that task here. You can set a due date for it. You can also set a status to tell your manager or your team kind of like where that task is in completion. And then within it, you could also create subtasks to really like help explain to your team like what exactly they need to do to finish that task. And then once it's done, you just mark it off and it moves on. So we have a set of non-closing tasks here, and then we have our set of closing tasks. And this is pretty much anything that has to do with your month-end close. And you'll start from the top and work your way down. So there's more task management here, but that's a boring part of Keeper, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm going to get to the exciting part, which is really getting into your transaction review. So in Keeper, you actually can't reconcile the account in QuickBooks through Keeper. So you actually log into QuickBooks to be able to go through that reconciliation process. But you can see all the transactions and the different accounts that you have here. What a lot of accountants like to do is they like to add an attachment to those accounts, and they'll go get the bank statement or the credit card statement and attach it in here. And then you can actually see the balance at the end of the month. And if mine were a real account, it would show the last reconciled transaction date. And you can actually click into these and see all the transactions with that account to, review and make sure that it's balanced correctly. Once we get to the transaction review, this is kind of our wow factor for most companies that sign up for Keeper. It's when we show them our expense and consistency report and these other reports here that really help you catch coding inconsistencies or anything that might need your attention. So this first report, it's called expense inconsistency. And the big difference between Keeper and pretty much every other tool out there is that we actually integrate with QuickBooks. That means we can see those transactions that are already in QuickBooks. We can see their descriptions, their vendor name or payee. We can see the account, split account. If you use class, location, or project customer, you can also see those in Keeper as well and get them set up. Or if you don't use those, you can hide them. And the way this report works is it looks at all the transactions that happened in that month that you're working on. And it looks at those transactions for how they were coded in the past 12 months. And if there's any transactions that are inconsistently coded from how they have been in the past, it will flag those here. So for example, Calendly is showing up. You'll notice that it's coded to 6370 office expenses. If we want to know why this is showing up in the report, you just tap this arrow and it will show you all similar historical transactions for Calendly. And we can actually scroll down and see like, okay, Calendly is normally posted to computer and software. And it even tells you that right here at the top. So you don't even really need to analyze all of it. Just lets us know, hey, it's normally in computer and software, but for this month, we have it in office expenses. So now we know, okay, we want to change this to computer and software. You don't then need to go and hunt down that transaction in QuickBooks to edit it. You can actually tap right here on the account, search for what you're looking for, hit enter, and then that will save and sync back to QBO or Xero automatically and instantly. So you saw it change to pink. That means it's like changing, and then it turns to green once it's saved in QBO and Xero. So this is a super helpful tool. And once you've reviewed them, or if like you don't need to make any changes, you could just click mark the transaction as reviewed. That will just send that transaction into this review tab here. But if you want, you can go one by one down each of these and mark them for review after you change them. Yeah, Josh, I don't know if I'm missing something. I can't see if anyone asks a question or anything. I actually can't see it. So I don't know. Let me know if there's something that I need to answer.
Of course.
Cool. So there's all sorts of different reports here. We have another one for all your transactions without payees. I know it's kind of a pain to update those in QuickBooks, but it's super easy here in Keeper. You just tap on it, search for like the name, hit enter on it, and then that will sync and save back to QBO and Xero. You can even bulk edit transactions. So let's say you are searching, I don't know if I can find something quick here. Yeah, like a bunch of Uber Eats or Uber expenses. You can actually bulk edit these to add that payee all at once. Same if you're like need to edit the split account for anything, you can do that in bulk as well. So that's a super helpful tool there for you. I'm not going to go through all of these reports. Some of them are like more interesting than others. But the point is you pretty much can set up like any type of report you want to have for a client. You can customize these and create these. Some people will use like transactions that are over $1,000. just to make sure that they're, keeping track of those biggest transactions. And again, you can just mark those off once you've reviewed them here. We have another one for transactions that are coded to parent accounts. So that way you can make sure they're put into the right account instead of the parent. A lot of companies, a lot of accounting firms, tell their clients, hey, you need to send us receipts, but not for like really small things. If you have a bunch of those, pretty much the IRS recommends anything $75 or more you get a receipt for. So then you can go in here and see any of those that you need to ask your client for receipts for. We have other things, transactions without class inconsistency, and other reports that you've set up. You can customize and build any type of report you need. So for example, if you want, if you want to see like all like marketing, or ad spend, you could create a report pretty easy and go, okay, I want to see anything where the split account is like advertising. And if you want to add more filters onto this, like, and the amount is like greater than, $100 or something like that, for whatever your use case is, you can create a custom report like that. And then now every month when you go through that month end close for this client, that custom report will show up here so you can keep track of any of those types of things. So now I want to get into the second core function of Keeper, which is the client portal and how it helps you automate your client communication and streamline that. So one report we have here is called our uncategorized transactions report. The way this works is if you have like a suspense account, maybe you call Ask My Client or Ask My Accountant or uncategorized transactions, you can pick whatever type of account you have set up for that and put them here. And then those will list all the transactions for that uncategorized expense. And then if you're looking at something and you're like, hey, Rippling, I'm not sure what that is. It's uncategorized right now. It's a pretty big charge. I want to ask my client for it. Instead of doing it a manual way where you go into QuickBooks and you export those transactions into a spreadsheet and then you email them over to your client, then they have to download that. Then they have to type in their answers. And that's the worst process because most people check their emails on their phone and no one wants to update a spreadsheet on their phone these days. That's the worst experience ever. Rather than doing that, or rather than doing it another way where you get a spreadsheet and you have a client portal, but you send the spreadsheet through the client portal for the client to answer, that's also not ideal and it takes up a lot of your time and the client's time. In Keeper, we have an easier way. So if I want to ask my client about this, I can simply click Ask Client here. I can type my question. You can also set up template questions like, hey, what is this for? Or can I get a receipt for this? Or what class is this for? You can set those up. So I'm going to ask, what is this for? And send that to the client portal. Then you'll see the question posted there. You can go on and ask, the rest of your questions for these. And it's not just in this report. If you're also looking at, for example, expenses and bills without attachments, and we want to get receipts, we can go in here and ask the client, hey, can you send me a receipt? You can also bulk edit. I showed you can edit transactions, but you can also bulk edit questions. So if you have a bunch of questions and you need receipts for all these, you can just do that all in 2 clicks right there. What will happen is your client won't get an email every time you ask a question. Instead, that'll be posted to your Keeper client portal. And then when you're ready to communicate with your client, you go up here to portal, you add their contact info that's saved here, and then you can actually send emails right within Keeper. You don't even need to head to Outlook or Gmail to do that. And we have pre-built email templates for you. You can also customize and build your own templates. But for example, when I am sending this new questions email, it's just a quick email saying, hey, we have some more new questions for you. Can you please sign in to give us your feedback? So I know some of you might have mixed feelings about client portals. Usually those, from what we've heard, come from bad experiences where the client can't log in, they don't remember their password, and they don't know how to reset their password, and they're asking you, but you can't really do it for them because it's their password. That's a terrible experience. So instead of making your clients use usernames and passwords, we use what's called a Google Magic Link. And what that is this link that you send to them, it'll actually send them to a page where all they need to do is put in their email, and then they'll get an email with a link and they click on that link and that lets them into the portal. That means they will, as long as they can access their email, they will never have to worry about forgetting a username or a password. You don't even need to set those up in Keeper. So clients like that experience a lot more. You can also text your clients. So if you text your clients, they can also get that link. Yeah, it's an awesome experience. So basically now I'll show you what our portal looks like on the client side. So once they sign in, this is an example of what they would see, except for if you have Keeper Premium, which is, our $10 per month per client package, you can adjust this logo and change it to your practice logo. You can also edit these colors. So if your practice logo is purple and that's your brand color, you can change it to purple or whatever else you need. And it's super simple. Like anyone who's ever used a computer before will understand that they can drag and drop any file they need to send you here. And there's not a lot of different things that they can do. There's just simply these tabs at the top, and they can go, okay, I see that there's 2 transaction questions. They can click here, and then they'll actually see those questions that we asked. We asked, what's this for? We also asked, hey, can we get a receipt for this? So the client will see the transaction info, they'll see your question, and then they'll add a comment or upload a file to answer that. Super simple. We also have a section for non-transaction questions. So if you need to collect other types of documents like bank statements or tax returns, you can do that there. There's a tab where your clients can ask you questions. What this does is it makes it so that anyone in your practice that has access to this client will be able to get those questions and can respond to them, rather than a question going to someone's email and they're on vacation and then all of a sudden no one's getting back to them. It kind of centralizes all those questions for you. You can also set up a resources page. So if you want a place to give them your address or your cell phone number or anything else, you can add that here, as well as any files you choose to share with your client. The client will be able to access them here. You have full control over this files tab. And so you can choose what shows up in here, what doesn't show up in here. So that way you can always keep it organized. So when the client answers those questions and they go, hey, Rippling's like a software that we use or something like that for HR, you will get all of the client responses here in one tab. So instead of in a bunch of different emails or texts or wherever they send them, all their responses show up right here. So you can see what you're waiting on or what the client has responded to. And then you'll see the answer, and then you don't have to hunt it down in QuickBooks like we showed you earlier. You can actually tap right here and make any edits you need. Awesome. So as we go down this list, we can see there's another section for pay and entity review. One thing I want to highlight here, we have a few reports, like ones for newly added vendors or new customers or duplicate vendors. But a big one right now for a lot of you that are based in the US is our prepared 1099s tool. And so the way this works is this will look at all of the transactions that meet that 1099 threshold. So you can see all vendors, but it's automatically going to filter for the ones that fit that 1099 threshold. You can also exclude all credit card spend since you don't need to collect W-9s for those. And, your list is probably going to be bigger than mine here, but you'll be able to see okay, these are the vendors we need to collect W-9s from in order to process those 1099s. And then over here, you have 2 options. One, just like I showed you earlier, the same type of workflow for asking your client a question. You can tap that here and say, hey, can you please upload a W-9? That'll send it to their portal. Another option is if you have the email, you don't need to ask them, but if you want to get that vendor's email address from the client, then you just plug in that email. So I'm going to use my personal email here as an example, as if I were reaching out to this company, Rippling. You can actually ask the vendor in behalf of your client for the W-9, which saves your client all that work and stress. And also, you would just know that it's actually being asked and you're not waiting around for anything. So you can do that and send that email. What this will do is that'll actually email the vendor with a link where they can upload their W-9. You can CC the client on this as well. So I'm going to add that request. And what that'll do on the vendor side, we'll see if this can refresh fast enough here. The vendor would get this email from you, the practice owner, saying, hey, we're BR Bookkeeping. We do the books for our client. we need to collect a W-9. Can you please upload them here? And when they click on that, they won't need to sign in or anything. It'll take them directly to this page where they can simply drag and drop their W-9 for you. Or if, let's say it's someone who's like, oh, we don't have a W-9, I don't know what that is, and they need to create one, they can actually click right here to fill out a new W-9. So they'll choose if they're an individual or a business. They'll fill out this form, and then they'll e-sign for that document. That'll actually generate a W-9 that you can use, and it'll send it to your Keeper client portal right up here in our vendor request tab. From here, it just takes one click. I don't have the document uploaded, but you can just click on it and say upload to QuickBooks, and it takes only one click to do that. So it's a super helpful tool, and our kind of use case that we think our customers like is that this Prepare 1099s tab will show up every month-end close that you run or quarterly close. And so that way you, throughout the year, can be collecting these W-9s instead of saving up till, December, January, and have to do a bunch of work at the end of the year. I'll get into two more things here. We have our final review. This is where you can see a breakdown of their financial statements, like their profit and loss here. One thing our customers love about this is that it actually shows you the variances for those accounts. So you can see, kind of what's happening with your client's books. Another thing people love is that you can actually drill down. So if you're like, hey, how come our marketing or advertising is down $730? You can click in, and it'll also give you all the vendors along with their variances. And we can go, oh, it's all 4 promos, like we're spending way less on them. And you can click to deep dive further to see those individual transactions. So that's super helpful for running through that. These checkboxes, sometimes customers will ask, like, what are these for? This is basically just so that as you're going through these books, you can be like, yep, I checked that out, and like basically marked it as like, I reviewed that, and it's all good to go. So you have that for all these different types of reports. And then that's not what you'll send to your client. We actually have a more visually pleasing report here that you can create for your clients. And so over here on the left, this is where you'll create the report. But once you set it up once, you usually don't need to touch it again. And every month you can just quickly send it out to them. So we have a nice cover page with your logo and your brand's colors, a table of contents. And then clients really love this executive summary. Just because it breaks down like the things that they care about the most, like revenue and expenses. You can also add custom key metrics, and you can even add metrics that aren't financial related, and you can add those in this metrics tab. But that's a whole other discussion we can talk to you about, one-on-one. But then you put together the financial package here. You'll just notice it also has variances, it has colors. It's going to be a lot better, a big upgrade from your QBO or Zero reports. And then you can add some fun things like the top 10 customers by revenue, or their top 10 vendors by spend, or any other metrics that you want to create. I only have 2 little charts here, but you can create as many as you want to create like stunning reports and charts and things like that. So that kind of is it for the month-end close. And then there's just a button to send that report to your client. You can either send it right to their email or deliver it into that client portal. And then Keeper is also a place where you can track all of your clients all in one place. So you can see we were working on Jake's HVAC, but if you're like a manager or an owner of a business that's here with us today, you'll love this view because you'll be able to see like, okay, who's in charge of this account? We have Brett as the preparer. We have, Steve as the reviewer. You can see what close you're working on. You can set due dates for when that should be due. You can also see the status of all of your clients and any other type of, we call them properties that you want to track. You can custom create these or use our template ones. So some companies have like tiers where it's like, hey, we have platinum customers that pay us our most money. Let's like work on those first, and you can filter and sort and get, whatever view you want of your clients. You can also click up here into Kanban, and this will show you where all of your clients are at in their month-end close kind of in a more visual way. And then you can move those as they progress through your process. All right. I think I'm going to wrap this up here. Hopefully I've answered your questions. One person asked about receipt capture. And so that is an exciting product that we're building right now. We have a beta version of it. And essentially what it'll do is it will make it so that you will be able to, if your client rather will have like an email address that's associated with your practice. And what they can do is if they get an email receipt from software or whatever else they get in their email, they can just forward those to the email address. And then that will actually go to your Keeper account. And then we use OCR technology, which is fancy word for basically being able to like scan the document and extract the data from that receipt. And so it'll match it up with the right vendor and with the right transaction. And then you can save it right there in QBO just in one click. There'll also be an ability where your clients can text receipts, like pictures of receipts. So if they're kind of more of an out and about type of a, business person and they're like getting lunches and dinners on their, on their company card or whatever, they can just simply take a picture of their receipt, text it to their Keeper number, and then that will save it also in Keeper for you. So that's super exciting. We have a beta going right now. I'll post the link in the chat in a few minutes where you sign up for that beta if you're already a customer. And so, yeah, we're really excited about that. Unfortunately, I don't have like a demo for that specific thing. But anyways, it was great meeting anyone. My name's Brett. Again, feel free to reach out to me. My email is easy to remember. It's brett@keeper.app. And so, yeah, hope to see you all later.
Thanks so much, Brett. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Sorry if this is freaking everyone out.
No worries. I'm going to reshare my screen here and welcome up the stars of the show, not to take anything away from Brett. Brett has been with Keeper quite a while. Really appreciate you hopping on today, Brett, and walking through Keeper so well and giving everyone an update. But did want to welcome up our panelists. I'll let you all introduce yourself because I probably cannot do it as well as you and would love to hear just a little bit about yourself and your firm. I know you're all firm owners. So starting left to right on the screen itself, Debra, if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Deborah, Debbie Kilsheimer. I live in Florida. It is 61 degrees here today. I know all you Canadians. Let's see, I have a firm. I work with my husband. He's the tax guy. I do everything else. I don't know. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I'm a bookkeeping bud. So any of you that are not buds yet, go to bookkeepingbuds.com and check us out.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Debra.
Well, I'll go next since I'm next on this slide. I'm Nancy McClelland. I run a small bookkeeping firm in Chicago, Illinois. There are 8 of us. We're fully remote firm in terms of our team members. We're scattered all over the country. But we are hyper local in terms of our client base, which is this neighborhood in Chicago. So these are the people where, we eat at their restaurants, we hire them for professional services, we shop at their stores. So it's very community driven, mission driven firm. And I'm being in Chicago, it's 37 degrees here. So I'm a little jealous about Deb's situation.
All right, I'll go next since I'm next on the list. I'm Stacy Stanley Young. I am the Canadian on the paddle. I am from Winnipeg, Manitoba, right in the center. It is minus 10 degrees here today, or 14 Fahrenheit, depending on which scale you're on. I run a bookkeeping firm, and we focus on the not-for-profit and charities. That's a lot of our client base. And so as you can imagine, I'm dealing with a lot of non-financially educated, non-financially experts who are coming in. And so I really love Keeper to try to educate them in that financial world.
Great. Thanks so much for the introductions. I think the first question that I have and that a lot of people would love to know about is, each one of you has, a different objective of what your clients are going after, whether it's nonprofit, or maybe you're, in real estate, but it doesn't matter. I think the beauty of Keeper is that it's an all-in-one app and can really help all these different, clients and firm owners themselves. So would love to hear a little bit about the initial challenges that you all were facing prior to finding Keeper. And feel free to take it in any order. Jump right in.
Can I go first?
Go for it, Debra.
Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Let's see which one. All right, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Keeper replaced this. I created this for every month, everything I had to do for every client. Different colors meant different activities. If I did the task, I would put a double X in front of it, and it would turn green, which meant that meant I did it. And then at the end of the month, see how it starts on a Sunday? At the end of the month, I would put in, like here, it ended on September 30th. So if I put in, you can see how manual this is. 10/01/23. It would change every date after that. But I had to keep this up. So I was doing this because I have about 75 bookkeeping clients. And my biggest fear was always missing something. So when I found out about Keeper from my friend Cindy Schrader, the master bookkeeping bud herself, I figured if Cindy was using it, I didn't have to look anywhere else. And most of my buds were using it. So they vetted it already for me. So Keeper replaced this. So now I will tell you, Keeper costs money. This was free. But my time is more valuable than money. I'm older, so I have more time behind me than I have ahead of me. So I want to save time, and anything that saves you time costs you money. So I was willing to spend the money, which to me was not a lot. $10 a client, come on. So anyway, I have 50 clients now on Keeper connected. So my first month of getting a Keeper bill, my husband, who questions my 99-cent iTunes purchases, couldn't believe it. And I said, saves me time, it makes you money. There you go. Be happy. But anyway, that
Deb, I'm curious. Do you guys have a team, or is it just you and your husband?
Just me and him. I have a part-timer, Mary, who helps me out. She works about 20 hours a week, but basically it's me and he
I
does
think that one of our challenges is that I'm looking at this very pretty screen in front of me and thinking, well, if it were just me, what you have up here would work. But our challenge was a little bit different than yours, because we couldn't even have this because there are too many people in the firm to have this pretty screen. And so for us, the challenge is different.
I had another one that was actually the client list, like the overall client list, and that was for all of us. But this was only me doing it. This didn't include what Mary did. I created one for her.
So you had more than one of these?
Yes, but this was mine. So this is on a Google Sheet, so I can, log in anytime. But this was my master calendar. So every morning I'd wake up and I knew exactly what I had to do today. So I do the same thing now in Keeper. I have to share my Keeper screen. So now with Keeper, let me share again. Trying to find it. Oh, there at top. Now this is my Keeper screen, and I use this a lot, these default views. So like, for example, last date, let's look at sales tax filed. I do a lot of sales tax. I created, these are under properties. So I can go down and actually see the date we filed the sales tax confirmation number. So I have it all in one place, and then I can go in. The other thing too, this will make you money, I'll tell you, because you ever have a client say, well, you don't do things that are that hard. You ever, right? So for example, I was at the Eagles, And he goes, well, how hard is the sales tax to do? And what I love is, let me find one that's completed. I can do it. Sales tax. Here's the directions how to do his sales tax. I go, well, this is what I do. I actually pulled Keeper up and showed him. And you can actually link to the reports, link to the pages, everything you need. So I don't have to remember every month exactly how his sales tax is. This is it's a bar. So I just have to open this up and put it in, attach the report, goes up into the portal. He sees it, but it saves me time because I don't have to remember each month. How did I do that? Where was the report? What's blah, blah, blah. And, but when I was at his office one day, he says, well, I could do the sales tax, because they want to do it themselves. I go, well, here's the directions. Pulled it. He goes, oh, I didn't realize it was all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, we had very different challenges than you. I'm looking at what you had to deal with, and we also had Google Docs, but we had Google Docs for everybody who's in the firm, all of the team members who are doing the bookkeeping. Our biggest challenge, it was being handled fine. That wasn't the problem I was looking to solve, although I did end up solving that problem. And that's one of my favorite things about Keeper is it solved a lot of problems that I didn't think I had. The main reason I was looking for something was that we struggle with capacity. As I mentioned, there are 8 of us. I'm the only full-time person though. And so we only have one senior level person in the bookkeeping space in our firm. And she's a rock star. She's amazing. Kendra's so incredible, but she's our bottleneck, right? There's only one of her. And so I was trying to figure out how can I take the stuff that's sitting on her shoulders and take it off of her shoulders and put it on the shoulders of the junior team members. And I was looking at things like Zenit Auto Review. That was one of them that I was looking at. And it was really good. It did a good job. Digits also was something that we were looking at. But Keeper solved that problem with the transaction review section that Brett was showing us earlier. Keeper solved that problem for us and accidentally solved our client portal task management and management reports issues. So that was all bonus for us. And I'm also in Bookkeeping Buds and a huge fan. And one of the things that we have in that group is a Slack space, and there's a channel that's just for Keeper. So anybody in there that uses Keeper can post questions in that channel. I did extensive research, and that was a really great resource for me in solving, again, the one problem I thought I had. And then what we did was with Asana, Uncat Digits, and Zenit and Keeper on our list, I went to QBC last year with my senior accountant and said, we're going to pick a solution. We're going to figure out what's going to work here for us. She liked Keeper best, and the Bookkeeping Buds liked Keeper best. And so I was like, well, all I'm trying to solve is this one problem, I thought, my capacity problem. It does all of these other things. And instead of having to have 4 pieces of software, I can have 1 piece of software. And 2 of my contractors have both decided to use Keeper in their firms. So we're all using the same software. So game changer for us. What about you, Stacy?
My biggest problem was the client portal. I'm growing from a 1-person team. I now have a 2.5-person team, and our clients still email me, talk about the bottleneck. I'm the bottleneck here. And so we turn around and we said, here you go. Go into the client portal. Please ask your questions in there. We have one client. She is lovely, but talk about a hot mess. I would send her an email going, here are the different receipts we're looking for. And 2 months later, 3 months later, she'd come back and she goes, okay, I know you sent me some emails. Can you resend them all?
Yes.
No. So now we have a client portal. It's going to be there until you answer that question. And goodness, it saved a whole bunch of time. If we can get you to ask your questions and answer the questions in the client portal, now it doesn't rely on me to be looking in my email. The rest of my team can go in there and answer those questions. And actually,
I want to build on that for just a second, because you nailed it. Those never ending email threads that we have to go through and pick out the outstanding items. Not only did it solve that problem, but think about it in a larger team. I don't want to be CC'd on every single email, right? That doesn't make sense. But I might miss something important if I'm not being CC'd on every single email. And what if one of my team members suddenly has to leave? Like that's really hard, because although we have our own email addresses, they're siloed. I have to go through the emails for each of those team members in Keeper, all of that client communications in one place. So it gets rid of those never ending email threads, but it also makes it accessible to me if I need it, without cluttering up my inbox. And something that Brett didn't go over as much here is that you can @mention anyone in the firm. And so if I've got somebody who's working on a client and they have a question for me, they just @mention me and say, hey, client had a question, or I had a question, and pull me into the conversation.
Absolutely. The in the chat here, a couple people have gotten those auto nags. I love the auto email that fires off on Monday morning. Hey, you
Totally.
still haven't answered your questions. We're not forgetting about you. And my clients are all sitting back going, oh, it's amazing. You're so on top of us. It's all automated. I am not on top of you.
The other thing that's great about the client portal is, I don't know about you, but I get a lot of work I got to clean up, or they do a lot of credit cards and I don't know the vendor. I used to spend a lot of time looking up the vendor, Googling it, and trying to guess what I think it should be. I don't do that anymore. Ask client, ask client, ask client. So it saves me tons of time with having for me to go look it up. I'm asking them, they'll tell me, and I also don't have to like set a time. Let's get together so I can ask you these questions. I don't want to talk to them about that stuff. I just put it in, send it off. So the trick though is, because you can do so much now behind the scenes that you never have to talk to your customers. Now, the secret is to find other things, the fun stuff to talk to your customers about, because you do want to, like
Absolutely.
birthdays, Christmas is coming, so find other
Absolutely.
things to talk to them about, because you don't want them to forget about you and only think they're people, so I think it's important, because like if you were at my QuickBooks class at Connect, it was price the relationship, not the transaction count.
Yeah.
So here is a really good example of getting the relationship down. Now you can talk to them about bigger and better things, about where they're going with their business, not just, well, what was this expense for? So to me, it's really added value. It's a value add to what I can offer to customers.
I had a colleague of mine, and we were both setting up Keeper at the same time. We were chatting, and she said she had a client. She would send off the weekly Google Sheet email with all the receipts that were missing. And the client said to her, oh, I ignore that email every week. And she goes, why am I doing this? And so now it's in Keeper. That auto email will go out, and it just sits there, and it's less frustrating on all of us.
Yeah, for sure. There's a question in chat that I wanted to address. There are actually kind of two that are inverted. There are two sides of that question, and I want to answer one of them and hear your guys' answers for the other. So Emily had asked what our experience has been in training the junior colleagues to use Keeper. I will tell you this: they have had to train me. It is, yes, I'm not kidding. They're the ones who are, in a sense, they're the ones who are getting the most out of it. They're the ones who are in it every day, right? I'm just looking at that main dashboard and seeing how are things going. Is anybody stuck? And if anybody is stuck, I can @mention them and say, what do we need to move forward here? What can I do, right? So that's really fantastic. They're in it every day, right? They're using it all the time. And so our solution was to pick one person on our team who was kind of going to be the cheerleader, which is something I recommend anytime you're doing a tech implementation. Somebody who was going to take all the classes, learn all this stuff, interact with the rep. The Keeper reps are amazing. Sean is ours. We love him so much. Yeah, he's great. But really, everybody is great. I feel like they just got a lot of really nice people together, and then we're like, wouldn't it be fun if maybe we wrote an app or something? Because it's just like the nicest group of people. They will spend as much time as you need. They will meet with you one-on-one. They will do it in your style. Like they will, whether you prefer email or Zooms or group Zooms or whatever. But our key was, let's get one person to really learn how it works. And then the other key, as far as that was concerned, start small. That was the best advice that we got. I have been working with Hughes and Strong, Erica Hughes and Jody Strong, who I also learned about through Bookkeeping Buds. They've been amazing. And that was their advice. Pick like 1 or 2 clients and 1 or 2 features and just use those until you get comfortable with it. Then add a couple features or add a couple clients. And so that's how we've handled the training process. So pick somebody on your team. But then the kind of the inverse of that question was about whether it's something that's worth using if you're just a solo firm. So yeah, if you guys want to talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I started a little differently. I mean, when I found out about it, you saw my spreadsheet with the task list. I put everybody on it and put every task on it that I did for every client. That's the only thing I started to use. The thing that Brett's went over, he went over task list and this. And I mean, there was all these sections. I only did the task lists first. That was the non-closing tasks, because that was my most interest. Then I started the bank recs. Then when I got good with that, then I started the bank recs. When I got good at that, then I started the client portal. When I got good at that, I started the next thing. Because sometimes, I know about you, but you get involved with these softwares, they are so overwhelming. I don't know where to begin. So I just started with the task list because that was the problem I wanted to solve. And frankly, I get nervous when apps start talking to clients. I wanted to make sure that I understood how it worked. Like, what are they seeing on the other side? Let me try it with one. So then I got used to that. And I'm now starting with the financial reports, which to me are fabulous. I have my one big client that lives in that, has the airplane in his garage. He loves it. He was a big wealth manager for a big, and he goes, Debbie, you come up with these reports. They're just, and I just go, yes, I work so hard at it. And all I'm doing is keeping his books in QuickBooks, keeping it up to date and clicking publish. And I don't tell him it's a click of a button, but I started start with one thing. I don't want you to buy it and then it's so overwhelming you don't use it, because I've done that with other softwares. Almost all the other softwares I've purchased, get excited about. So this one, I just did the one thing first.
Deb,
Melissa
from Bookkeeping Buds. She's on this call. She is just using Keeper for right now. She's just using Keeper for the uncategorized transactions to be able to ask clients about it. So that's all she's using it for. And it is worth the monthly fee for her, for those clients that she's using it for, just for that one feature. I mean, if it's worth it for just that one feature, and then you do that for as long as you want. So for example, we're still in the process of implementing it. And we'll probably be in the process of implementing it for another year, maybe more. Like, we don't have our tax folks in there because that is not a pain point for us. We have a system that's working for us. We're just using it for these other ones. So in a situation where if you just have one pain point and Keeper can address that pain point, you can set it up just for those clients, just for that pain point. And then later on, and that's one of the things that I love about working with Hughes and Strong. I sound like an ad for them, but really it's been so helpful. What I said to them, because we implemented it internally, just ourselves. Our cheerleader, Allie, my operations person, she was the one who implemented it, and she did a great job. She took our Google Docs, like it was not as pretty as Deb's, but we had our Google Doc, and she just entered that in for the initial clients that we wanted to use. But then I got in touch with Hughes and Strong, and I said, what's the one feature that's going to give me the most bang for my buck? I want help implementing just that one feature. And then once we did that, I said, okay, what's one more feature that's going to be the next most bang for my buck? And you can really approach it that way.
And Hughes and Strong does a webinar once a month. You could attend that.
Do Hughes and Strong. Somebody just put the link to them. That's Erica Hughes and Jody Strong. They are, Jody runs a bookkeeping firm of her own, uses Keeper for it, became a power user, brought in Erica, who's fabulous with communication and marketing. And the two of them formed a company where they can consult with you to get the most out of Keeper and like a couple other pieces of software. I don't remember what else. And they have a free monthly webinar that if you're on this call, like, you should probably be attending that webinar. They're so generous and so knowledgeable.
That's great, Nancy. Stacy, I just want to give you a chance to respond to that as well.
Sorry. Yeah, I wrote down,
Two
I'm
big
like,
talkers in here, Stacy. So you're just going to have to butt in.
well, see, I'm Canadian. I start with, I'm sorry. I stepped on you stepped on my toe. I'm sorry. So to answer the initial question, what I really enjoy sort of that keeper for when we train the team, like Nancy said, her team uses it daily. I have some juniors and I'm like, I now have a consistent format to turn around and go, okay, this is what my eye sees. What does your eye see? Now we're going to get the next file. Oh, it looks the same. And so it's helping me train those juniors to be more intermediates. To answer the question, I've lost the name. Somebody asked, oh, I'm a
It's like a business.
it was a business. Could I just use it for my one business? And so my answer to that is, yeah, actually, I think you could. I don't know if you're going to get the passion that you're hearing from us today out of it, because we're like, oh, the client portal, which isn't really your thing. But yeah, actually, I think anybody who just needs to look at their bookkeeping on a monthly basis and make sure that everything is done, it's a good thing to use. And
I
then
use the client portal for how?
Yeah,
I ask
if
him
you,
questions. What did you buy?
yeah,
And he
if
answers.
you, absolutely. And then Sherry Lee asked a question. As I said before, I work with a lot of not-for-profits. So I like the reporting feature in Keeper. Again, in Canada, most of my not-for-profits do not have a December 31st year end. And so when we started using Keeper, that has changed since, but when we started using Keeper, we couldn't use the report feature because it was a wrong date for us. And so I created a whole system. I'm going to create reports externally out of Keeper, and then I have figured out a way. I've added a new section. Here's your reports, and now my clients can go into that file section and find their custom reports there. I think
I learned something. I have a takeaway, you guys, already. It never occurred to me to set up my own company in Keeper.
Duh.
I know. I can't even, and I'm just like, that's a win-win, right? Because my husband's a software developer, and they always talk about eating your own dog food when you use the software that you write.
Yeah.
So I can eat my own dog food here. I can learn Keeper better. I can see what the clients are seeing, but also have it be more efficient.
And the task list does not have to be bookkeeping tasks.
Yeah.
I
You can
use it a
make
lot.
your bed on there.
I use it a lot also when I have my juniors. I'm like, here's the file for my business. Before you screw up my clients, here's the file for my business, and it's a good training for them. So that's what I do.
I did want to just jump in. This is an amazing conversation just because we're coming to the end. One, some key benefits I was thinking of, during this conversation and threw this slide together really quickly, just summarizing some of the thoughts. And I think we could easily have multiple series after this conversation, deep diving into each of the 4 key pillars, client portal. Everybody found Keeper and has used it in their own way and has taken advantage of their own pain point. But I think one minimizes context switching. I think, Nancy, you highlighted everything in one place. You're not having to use all these different tools anymore. You can find everything and save yourself time doing it. I think working the way you want to work, there's a crap ton of practice management softwares out there, and they're all good in a lot of ways, but you got to have one that aligns with how you think. And I think all of you have found that Keeper aligns with the way that you think, and you've been able to customize and build out things the way that you want it. And then the single source of truth. You work in your workflow software, and you have this client portal that retains all your information. So maybe I'm reading between the lines a little bit, but really love what you said. And I felt like some of these were powerful points that I could draw from as you guys were speaking.
Diana's asking if it's a monthly webinar. And I'm like, no, but it should be. This is great.
Yeah, no, it's a great thought.
How much I'm getting out of it.
I also just wanted to point out there are a couple of questions in that question portal, and I just want to make sure that viewers or participants realize that I've seen them. I haven't answered them, but I've seen them.
And I know we're at the top of the hour here, but we'll extract all these questions for anybody that has asked, and would love to go through and send some emails after to get you the answer that you're looking for. As far as a monthly webinar, would love to have these amazing users on and do this on a more frequent basis. So I really appreciate your time. Would love to take a deep dive into some of the conversations that arose in this call, but thank you so much for spending your Tuesday with us, whether it's afternoon or morning. Really appreciate it. And any last words for anybody here?
Just do it.
I want to make sure that magic link, I posted that in chat, but that was huge for us in terms of client adoption, is that it's not, the client doesn't have to remember the password. That was super huge for us. If you're worried, if the client portal part is the part that's scaring you, like it was us, that has not been a problem with Keeper. Clients love it. Sorry, Stacy.
I was going to say, for anybody who has come here to go, oh, I heard about Keeper, they were really cool at QBC, I'm thinking of doing this. Sign up, do one. You don't have to sign up all of your clients. One, I pay $14, but that's a Canadian price. I think I overheard Debra say 10. Do it for 2-3 months. It's a small investment. Try it with one client. You don't have to go whole hog. Just try it. And
I went whole hog.
Yeah. Well, I saw your spreadsheet.
All the way.
Yeah. You needed to.
It can feel overwhelming. It can feel really overwhelming, and don't let the overwhelm prevent you from the baby step.
And the we're getting every week, oh, here's the new updates in Keeper. Like, I love being able to chat with Kenny and Ben and Brett and just go, hey, what are the new things? When I say this is a pain point, they go, oh, let me take that away. When they came to Canada 1.5 years ago, we all sat there going, oh, have you heard of this tax called GST? Oh, have you heard of the fact that we have year ends that are not December 31st year ends? And they took that back and they really listened to us. And so I like working with companies that do that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. Thank you so much again. This will be shared with everybody, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.